American football. I love American football. Many people who might look at how I dress and I act might not think that I'm really big into it, but the truth is, I am a super fan. I am not, thankfully, a big Packers fan, which means, in some very, very sly little way, which any sports fan can attest, I will be getting a little bit of a kick out of doing this video. Unfortunately, it is also tainted because by doing this video, I have to help counter something that really shouldn't have to be countered. But we live now in an age where anti-vaxxers are so mainstream that now some of our sports heroes are using their rhetoric. But for now, I can say, what's going on, everybody? Jeff Holiday here, and today we've got a video where we're going to be looking at the egregious claims of one Aaron Rodgers, the quarterback for the Green Bay Packers. And I feel like I can summarize this entire thing as an absolute train wreck. So Aaron Rodgers recently went on the Pat McAfee show, which I had not really heard of before, but apparently is a pretty big YouTube channel. And he is telling Pat McAfee his side of the vaccine situation. You see, Aaron Rodgers apparently did an oopsie-doopsie, whoopsie-poopsie, and was claiming that he had gotten the vaccine as was required by the NFL, which is the group that is the overarching organization for American football, pro-American football. And it turns out that that was a lie. Uh-oh.
I realize I'm in the crosshairs of the woke mob right now, so before my final nail gets put in my cancel culture casket, I think I'd like to set the record straight on some.
Excuse me, did he just say he's in the crosshairs of the woke mob? What does being woke have to do with whether or not you're getting vaccinated? I don't understand exactly what that means. And canceled? How are you going to get canceled for this? Like, the only thing that you might lose out on is your contract because you're breaking the rules of your contract. What an absolutely ridiculous thing to say.
So many of the blatant lies that are out there about myself right now. And I appreciate the opportunity to tell my side of the story on here. First of all, I didn't lie in the initial press conference. During that time, it was a very, witch hunt that was going on across the league, where everybody in the media was so concerned about who was vaccinated and who wasn't, and what that meant, and who was being selfish, and who would talk about it, and what it meant if they said it's a personal decision. They shouldn't have to disclose their own medical information and whatnot. And at the time, my plan was to say that I've been immunized. It wasn't some sort of ruse or lie, it was the truth. And I'll get into the whole immunization in a second.
Oh, wait. So instead of saying that you were vaccinated, you were going to say that you were immunized, and I'm fascinated to hear exactly what you think that means. That's interesting. But also, what's really fascinating about this, like, it's a witch hunt because, they're trying to see who's going to be selfish, who's going to be that. The thing is, you're in a physical sport. You're coming into physical contact constantly without masks in like your job. And so if you have the virus and you pass it on to another player and they go home and visit their grandmama and she gets fucking sick and dies, like, you bear some responsibility for that. That's part of the contract. That's part of the rules for the organization you work for. You're breaking the rules of your job. What happens to regular people when they break the rules of their job? But, it's woke and it's canceled.
But had there been a follow-up to my statement that I've been immunized, I would have responded with this. I would have said, look, I'm not, some sort of anti-vax flat earther. I am somebody who's a critical thinker. You guys know me. I march to the beat of my own drum. I believe strongly in bodily autonomy and the ability to make choices for your body, not to have to acquiesce to some woke culture or crazed, group of individuals who say you have to do something.
We have to do lots of things. It's called laws. It's called rules or requirements for a job. None of it has anything to do with being woke. And you can't just put a dress on a pig and make it a princess. And you can't just tell a lie and say, well, I marched to the beat of my own drum, and that's why it's totally fine that I fucking lied. What the fuck? I understand that I might be coming off a little aggressive in this, and I need you guys to understand. I've just been having a few cups of this morning, you know. Maybe I'm part of the woke mob. I don't know.
And for me, it involved a lot of study in the off season, much like the study I put into hosting Jeopardy or the weekly study I put into playing the game. I put a lot of time and energy and research and met with a lot of different people in the medical field to get the most information about the vaccines.
He did his own research, everybody. He did his own research. I wonder what that means.
Before making a decision. And in actuality, it was pretty easy in the beginning to eliminate two of them. And it didn't involve going into the questionable history of some of their criminal activities and fraud cases or any of that stuff. It was simply the fact that I have an allergy to an ingredient that's in the mRNA vaccines. So on the
And what is that ingredient? Can you tell us what that ingredient is? I'm really curious. I wonder if he's going to mention it.
So my only option was Johnson & Johnson. At this time, in the early spring, I had heard of multiple people who had adverse events around getting the J&J. Nothing that was no deaths or anything, but just some really difficult times and physical abnormalities around the J&J shot. And then in mid-April, the J&J shot got pulled for clotting issues, if you remember that, right? So the J&J shot was not even an option at that point. So then my options...
All right, time to fact check. Let's look into some of these claims. First and foremost, we're going to look at the ingredients in these mRNA vaccines and see if there's anything in there that might be potentially something that he might be allergic to, which I am very, very doubtful on. So first of all, there's the Pfizer one, which the only active ingredient is the mRNA messenger ribonucleic acid. That's the only active ingredient. After that, there are lipids, which are basically fatty, greasy substances that are largely used to protect the mRNA. That's about it. Most of these are extremely basic, and I'd be really interested to know if Aaron Rodgers is like, well, you know, I'm allergic to ditridtradicylacetamide. Then there's basic salts like potassium chloride, monobasic potassium phosphate, sodium chloride, dibasic sodium phosphate dihydrate. I really doubt he's allergic to any of that kind of shit. Basic sugars. Moderna, almost the exact same thing. But he's also saying it's in only the mRNA, so both of those were out. The only things that they necessarily share, they both have mRNA messenger ribonucleic acid. And let's see, do they have the same lipids? No. Well, it looks like they might have 1,2-disteriol sero-3-phosphocholine. Is that what he's allergic to? That'd be interesting. There's also acetic acid, acid stabilizers, sodium acetate, and sucrose. Okay. Well, so the only one that is actually similar is this one, which I will also type out right over here so you can see. That's only two that those ones have. I'm really curious if the Johnson & Johnson has it. Okay, they don't. Okay, all right. So is that, Aaron Rodgers, is this what you are allergic to? Is that it? I've got to know. And to make this as concise as possible, every time I start to counter something that he's saying, you're going to see a little number. It'll show up like that. And that will correspond to a citation that is in the description of this video, in which case, if you want to, you can go fact check me. Simple, right? Anyway, let's look into the blood clots issue. Now, on the topic of blood clots, I've already talked about this in my latest Project Veritas video, which you can probably find linked up there somewhere. But we know very much so that the risk of blood clots from the Johnson & Johnson vaccine are extremely low. And in fact, people who get COVID and end up in the hospital, about 20% of them develop blood clots anyway. That's a staggering amount. That's a huge amount. You are much likely to get a blood clot from COVID than you are from the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. But even more so, on top of that, risk of dying from COVID-19, 40 times the risk of this rare blood clot after receiving the J&J vaccine. Why is Aaron Rodgers mentioning this at all? Because Aaron Rodgers is not saying this as an informed opinion. He's saying this to cast doubt on vaccines to justify his own terrified position because he's gotten it drilled into his head that this is it's a death sentence. It's a death sentence if you take the vaccine. Booga 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 booga.
It became, okay, what can I do to protect myself and my teammates if there's not one of the big three options for me in my own body? And so I looked into and talked again to a lot of medical individuals and professionals, and found that there was an immunization protocol that I could go to best protect myself and my teammates. And
I think I've said this a million times on my channel. If you decide that instead of going for mainstream medical science and you start following a protocol, you are probably buying into a whole load of bullshit.
it was a long-term protocol that involved multiple months, and I'm very proud of the research that went into that, and the individuals that I met with, and we felt like it was what was best for me. It was not, again, something that the league didn't know about. The league was fully aware of it.
It doesn't sound like it, because now you're in trouble with the league. I really have to wonder how truthful that is. And if so, then that's a staggering indictment of the NFL. And I don't know if they'd really appreciate you throwing them under the bus like that. But also, if I'm not mistaken, doesn't Aaron Rodgers have some kind of connection to like Joe Rogan? In which case, maybe he's talking about the protocols that were established by Dr. Pierre Corey, one of the guys pushing ivermectin. I would almost put money on that. I'm just throwing it out there. I don't know for sure. I'm not saying it as a fact, but maybe he says it further on in this. I don't know.
In my opinion, we're not based on science. We're more based in a shame-based environment to try and get as many guys to get vaccinated as possible so that the league looks better to the rest of the world.
Can I stop for a second? In what world, Aaron Rodgers, is your opinion going to supersede that of established medical science? Like, the only thing that you are showcasing right now, as far as medicine goes, is the case for massive head injuries after a long career of football, okay? Like, the idea that you, with this is screaming Facebook research, okay? Can cast doubt on the protocols that people are establishing to try and keep people safe. This is mind-blowing to me.
And I also said, how come there's no exemptions for medical exemptions, religious exemptions, pre-existing conditions? And they basically said, look, those are all basically exempted, but you would be put in the non-vaccinated category. And I'll get into what that meant from a scheduling standpoint shortly. But
so this is interesting to me because Aaron Rodgers is trying to put himself into a situation where he might be one of those people at risk. There's a reason why I can't be vaccinated. And they're like, okay, well, we have a protocol for that to make sure that you're staying as safe as possible. But he's seeing it as he's being canceled. They're doing special concessions to keep you safe. Like, the idea that Aaron Rodgers is a victim, he's one of the highest paid quarterbacks of all fucking time. He's a celebrated, up until now, American hero of American football. And he thinks that he has to twist it into this victim narrative. Not that they're like, okay, well, we're going to have to put you into this special consideration to keep you safe. Aaron Rodgers is a massive investment for the NFL. That's how it is. They put a lot of money into this guy for the purpose of expanding their business, for getting people watching Packers games. I don't know how in the world you can have somebody who is this goddamn rich and is this much of a fucking baby. Holy shit.
And so we went through the process, which was a multi-week process, where I asked them for time to gather information. I gathered over 500 pages of research on the efficacy of immunizations.
He spent a bunch of time reading a bunch of anti-vax websites and decided to send it to the NFL. I would love to get my hands on that 500 pages. I tried to look this morning to see if he had published it somewhere. I couldn't find it, but I can almost guarantee you all of the most well-known anti-vaxxers probably have their names all over that research.
All the latest research surrounding my case, everything from mask wearing to
Why are you talking about masks?
the efficacy of the vaccine.
Why are you talking about masks if you're trying to make the case that you shouldn't be vaccinated? That doesn't have anything to do with masks. If anything, you're fucking telling on yourself that you are, in fact, an anti-vaxxer and a science denialist. This is crazy, dude.
And the duration of the antibodies, just all the latest research, right, that I was getting from my medical team. And in that process, we had many conversations. I enjoyed the conversation with the league. It was good sharing. But one in particular stood out when I knew I was not going to win this. I had a meeting, and they said, one of the main docs said, it's impossible for a vaccinated person to get COVID or spread COVID.
I guarantee you nobody told him that. I guarantee you. There is no fucking way. And if somebody is like, are you calling Aaron Rodgers a liar? Yes, I am. Absolutely, 100%. And honestly, if there was a doctor that works for the league that said that, he should probably get put on administrative leave for that, because it's a very stupid thing to say.
And at that point, I knew that I was definitely not going to win the appeal, and it was very shortly thereafter that denied, which we know now that information is totally false that was given to me. My desire to immunize myself was what was best for my body, and that's why this is so important to me. My medical team advised me that the danger of the end to get of an adverse event was greater than the risk of getting COVID and recovering.
That also is not true. Are you for real? Well, that sure is an interesting claim there, Aaron Rodgers. It sure would be a shame if somebody were to fact check it. Los Angeles Times, this one's great. Each square represents 15,000 vaccine doses. Each of these little squares. More than 150 million shots have been administered in the U.S. so far. And then all the way down here, 0.05% may have resulted in a serious side effect. But you know what? Hey, isn't there like a crazy risk factor possibly? Like how bad is COVID by comparison? Okay, we can look at it even further. And also, as always, my citations are in the description down below. But there's a very handy graph we can look at. Very, very simple. Dangers of COVID-19 far outweigh vaccine risk. Per million residents, there will be 6,236 people in the hospital. There will be 1,693 dying. And of the same amount of people, report of serious reaction to the vaccine, 52. That's just a report. Not necessarily whether it's a verified one, because again, things like VAERS, where people will actually put the report for reactions, aren't completely vetted. So that's even the worst case scenario by comparison. I don't even understand how you can argue with this. Even using the most loosey-goosey out there data, which is VAERS, it's clear. It's right there. It's right there. But the problem with this always comes down to it's not actually about facts or data. It's about panic and control. And then framing people trying to actually do the right thing as trying to induce panic and control. Like it's a complete flip of the script. And it's extremely effective because we still have this problem. We still are having problems getting people to get vaccinated. Thanks a lot, Aaron Rodgers, prick.
If you're scared of COVID, or if you have comorbidities, then getting vax is probably in your best option. But if you have immunocompromised system, or if you have pre-existing conditions, then make the decision that's in your best interest. And that's what I did. I made the decision that was in my best interest.
Which is why you should then be encouraging everybody else to get vaccinated so that you have the benefit of herd immunity. It's as simple as that. But the thing is that he's not really putting himself into I'm at a risk. And so I need people to do that. He's just casting all doubt on the vaccines and making it like getting vaccinated is fashionable or something.
And the other part to it is that, and I've talked about this on the show before, but the next great chapter in my life, I believe, is being a father. And it's something that I care about a lot. And to my knowledge, there's been zero long-term studies around sterility or fertility issues around the vaccines.
Have there been any sterility or fertility issues around eating apples? Around being near the chemicals they use on the football field, on the grass? Have there? But as far as long-term side effects, we understand what the half-life is from these vaccines. And that there is no actual way that the mRNA vaccines, at the very least, can affect your genetic code at all. Nor would there be any reason for the Johnson & Johnson vaccine to do that either. So it's not a gene issue, we know that. But as far as sterility, why would you even think that it would affect the potency of your man sauce? Why would that even be a worry? Why would you even think about that? And the reason why I say that is there is something that Aaron Rodgers is not really quite grasping. It's going right over his head, and he just completely contradicted himself. Now, on the topic of whether or not the vaccine has any issues with reproduction and infertility, we have actually been looking at it. The Society for Male Reproduction and Urology and the Society for the Study of Male Reproduction earlier this year saying there was no evidence that the COVID vaccines affect male fertility. The American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology also recommends that pregnant and lactating women be offered the vaccine, while the American Society for Reproductive Medicine says the vaccine should not be withheld from patients who are planning to conceive. Nobody thinks that there is a potential risk there. But I really got to drive this home. Right now, Aaron Rodgers has COVID-19. That's why this is such a problem. He has an infection of COVID-19. And is there a problem with fertility and COVID-19? 19% of patients in one study presented with scrotal discomfort suggestive of virus-induced inflammation around the time of the diagnosis. 39% of patients had clinically low sperm count in a Chinese study of men who'd all previously fathered at least one child without any reproductive assistance. Sperm function was compromised in 61%. 33% of the semen samples in one study showed low sperm quality and lesser ability to swim. 25% also reported low libido, and one patient reported the failure to achieve an erection. The patients also had significant hormone changes, which can be indicators of fertility disturbances. An Iranian study analyzing semen samples from patients every 10 days for 60 days found imbalances of free radicals and antioxidants, signs of inflammation, the activity of pathways that facilitate sperm cell death. Sperm concentration was reduced by 5.16%, I think that's right, or 51.6, and its ability to swim by, I believe that's 20.9. An Italian study that asked online survey respondents to self-report diagnosis and erectile dysfunction found that the disease increased the risk nearly six-fold. Looking at the autopsies of deceased patients, research identified the following. 50% of the biopsies in Florida study showed an impaired ability to produce sperm. 17% showed inflammation. Damaging changes to the seminiferous tubules where sperm develops are common, as well as swelling and congestion of the testes, a sign of localized infection. Scrotal swelling and congestion, red blood cells in the testes, an epididymis tube through which semen flows, thinning of the seminiferous tubules, and high levels of dead sperm cells were found. So I don't know how else I can really say this, but if you were really worried about being a father, and you actually knew how to interpret and look at data objectively instead of being a brainwashed anti-vaxxer, you'd realize that you hurt your chances of being a father and producing a child because you allowed yourself to get COVID when you could have used a safe and effective vaccine that you claim you couldn't do because you say that you're allergic to an ingredient, and we still don't know what that ingredient supposedly is.
But I mean, some of the rules to me are not based in science at all. They're based purely in trying to out and shame people, like needing to wear a mask at a podium when every person in the room is vaccinated and wearing a mask makes no sense to me.
Wait, why would that not make any sense to you? You were just saying, like, you could still get COVID if you had the vaccine, which is technically true. It's a vaccination, not an immunization. And it reduces the chances immensely so. But even if you yourself are making the argument that you can still get it and spread it, then why wouldn't everybody wear masks? Unless you just think that masks don't work, which I wouldn't be surprised because you're an anti-vaxxer. So, whatever.
If you got vaccinated to protect yourself from a virus that I don't have as an unvaccinated individual, then why are you worried about anything that I can give you?
But you do have COVID. You do have COVID. Absolutely. And who knows for how many days you had it before you became symptomatic and had to get tested, and you could have spread it to anybody. But even more so, because you don't understand how masks work, and I've been trying to hammer this into people's heads for as long as I can remember now, that masks protect everybody else. They diffuse the amount that you have the ability to spread outward. If somebody hawks a fucking loogie on the top of your mask, it's a lot easier to breathe that through than if for some reason it got caught in their mask. None of this is hard. A baby could understand this. A baby could understand this. Kids in elementary school can understand the basic physics of how masks work. Yet here we have people who make millions and millions and millions of dollars a year whining like a little bitch because they can't understand the basic fundamentals of how something as simple as a piece of cloth over your face works. And that's the other thing, too. This guy is going to get paid millions and millions of fucking dollars to go out there and perform and entertain us, which I'm glad for because I like football. But the idea that you're so inconvenienced by putting a piece of cloth over your face? I'm sorry, dude. I'm sorry. But I think there could be a million more things that you would have to do to also still get paid as much as you do. Like, the idea that is the deal breaker? Like, I don't want to wear a mask. Grow the fuck up. How in the world can people seriously sit there and say shit like this with no self-awareness is beyond me. Aaron Rodgers is a little baby. He is a little whiny little baby. Holy shit, with the brain of a fucking toddler.
This is what the league has done, is they've made it, hard for people, to have a decision because, you're close contact. That means you're out for 5 days. Not based on any science, other than we're going to just keep this propaganda narrative going that unvaccinated people are the most dangerous people in society.
Well, one of the main reasons why they do that, and it's very, very simple, is there are such things as false negatives and false positives. I mean, testing is not perfect, but it's what we have. The idea of trying to cast doubt on this is honestly just it's selfishness. There's really nothing deeper than that.
The media has been trying to do. They're trying to shame and out and cancel all of us non-vaccinated people. Call us selfish.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the propaganda line too. Now, you're selfish for making a decision that's in the best interest of your body. Now, I've already spelled out, which I shouldn't have to, but I've already spelled out the issues of my own personal body and my own personal health.
It's not like we're talking about whether or not you're getting a tattoo or a piercing or going in for some sort of like elective plastic surgery or whatever. Those are choices that you make for your body that don't involve anybody else's health. That you don't understand that you can make these choices that can affect other people in something that's as extraordinary as a global pandemic that has killed millions of people is why you're selfish. Yeah. Extremely selfish. That's how that works.
That I went out and on my own paid for and did research and went out and did an immunization protocol that's been used. Homeopathy has been around for centuries.
Homeopathy? Homeopathy? Did he just say homeopathy? Oh my God! For those who don't know, and if you've been watching my channel for a while, you probably do know homeopathy is magic water. Yeah, that's it. Magic water. They take an ingredient, which usually doesn't have anything to do with whatever it is that you feel like you're sick, and they put it into water, and then they boil it until there's nothing left. And then they fill it up with water, and they boil it until there's nothing left. And they do this sometimes hundreds, sometimes thousands of times to make a miracle cure, and it's just water. They claim that there is a memory, a spirit of the thing in the water, even though it's been boiled into oblivion. This is absolutely fucking bizarre to me. This is so wild. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is proof that you do not have to have a brain to make millions of dollars. Wow, homeopathy.
And the doctors that I consulted with have been doing this for decades. The same type of stuff for children and adults who have immunocompromisation. They have pre-existing conditions or reasons that they cannot take traditional vaccines. The league didn't offer any opportunity for alternative medicines or treatments, as I.
Hey, look, guys, I think that we should use magic water. I'm taking magic water, and that's why I don't need to have. I don't have to have a protection from this vaccine, which, by the way, I'm totally allergic to. I'm not gonna prove that, but yeah, we should just drink magic water. Just trust me, it'll be fine.
So this idea that it's a pandemic of the unvaccinated is just a total lie. And I go back to like these two questions for the.
It's not a pandemic of the unvaccinated. Oh boy! All right. Let's check that one. So one thing we have to keep in mind when we're talking about unvaccinated versus vaccinated is that when you have a vaccine, it is not an immunity. It does not give you a magic force field that means that these viruses just cannot penetrate your body. You are just less likely to have a hospitalization. You're less likely to be able to spread it than somebody who is unvaccinated, and you're far less likely to die than somebody who is unvaccinated. This is known, Khaleesi. Ugh. Unvaccinated people are 11 times more likely to die from COVID-19 than those who are fully vaccinated, new research has found, bolstering evidence that the inoculations continue to provide powerful protection even against the Delta variant. Protection, not immunization. The latest study from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, released on Friday, also found that vaccinated people were nearly 5 times less likely to get infected and 10 times less likely to get so sick they ended up in the hospital. As we have shown, study after study, vaccination works. And that's really what it's all about. There is a pandemic, and trying to say it's a pandemic of the unvaccinated versus the vaccinated is putting in like some sort of combat that doesn't need to be there. We need to stop looking at this like it's vaccinated versus unvaccinated and that we're all in this together, and if we are objectively looking at the data, we can see the best way to protect each other. Simple as that. This victim narrative has no place in it. The only thing this victim narrative does is continue to fuel this idea that there is a moral or ethical choice one way or the other. And in fact, it's just an informed medical decision. And the moment somebody starts talking about homeopathy and protocols, they probably shouldn't be involved in the conversation because they have lost their talking stick privileges, okay?
If the vaccine is so great, then how come people are still getting COVID and spreading COVID and unfortunately dying from COVID?
At much lesser rates than if they had the vaccine. If it's so great, what the hell do you want? A magic spell? And what are you doing? Because whatever it is that you claim to be doing with your homeopathy and shit, you just got COVID. How are you casting shade when your dumb ass has gotten COVID and whatever it is that you claimed was better didn't work? Holy shit.
Like, if the vaccine is so safe, then how come the manufacturers of the vaccine have full immunity? So let's just step back and realize, like,
what?
This vaccine is revolutionary. The thing.
If he's talking about immunity from being, like, sued into oblivion, we did that years and years and years and years ago so that we wouldn't have crazy people like you and the rest of the anti-vaxxers trying to sue companies to interrupt and stop the ability to have public health. It was this whole thing of like massive amounts of kids dying from measles. That's why they put the system in place. And the system does work because they can actually get paid out for any actual proven adverse reactions for vaccines. That's what it's for. So is ultimately all of this a better system just so we can prevent the massive death of children? Yes, I think so. I don't think it's controversial to think that.
For the media out there taking shots at me, like, you don't know my story, now you do. So quit lying about me.
Yeah, your story is stupid. You are stupid. You are a stupid man.
And personal health decisions, in my opinion, should be private. and they shouldn't have to be like gone through the ringer and over scrutinized by, people who are just pushing their own type of propaganda on the people and ideals. You want to have a conversation about it? I'm more than willing to have a conversation about it. But bodily autonomy is a right. And the shaming and the outing that, people seem to get off on so much of finding these people who, oh my God, can you believe these crackpots who are not vaccinated? Everybody has their own story.
Okay, I really have to push back on this too, because this is absolutely ridiculous. There is arguably no people in the United States that are more medically examined and monitored than NFL players. Nobody. Like you have to go through rigorous testing constantly to make sure that you are still a good, valuable asset for your job to perform your job. It's why we have so many rules about head injuries. It's why we have rules against things like targeting. That's why they are so strict about these things, is because they have to make sure you stay healthy. Now, in an age of a global pandemic that is killing millions of people, they add extra restrictions onto that, and you have a problem with it because you're an idiot. There is nothing else going on here. Nothing. It's you feel like you are so fucking important that you don't want to do what is required for you to do to earn millions of dollars. I'm sorry. It makes absolutely no sense to me. No sense.
But I bet you the same people that hate it are the same people that are really going to hate the fact that I'm 48 hours in, and I consulted with a now good friend of mine, Joe Rogan, after he got COVID.
Oh,
and
man.
I've been doing a lot of the stuff that he recommended.
He consulted his doctor, Dr. Joe fucking Rogan. We live in the stupidest fucking timeline. Holy shit.
And I'm thankful for all the love and support I've gotten, but I've been taking monoclonal antibodies, ivermectin, zinc, vitamin C and D, HCQ, and I feel pretty incredible.
So monoclonal antibodies have shown some bonuses to potentially helping deal with symptoms of COVID-19. However, those are usually pretty expensive. It depends on where you live. And it's not great. It's not anywhere near like just being vaccinated. Then you don't have to worry about it at all. Ivermectin does not work. It does not work. And yes, maybe he was taking the human version of ivermectin. I'll say the medicine that helped the creators win a Nobel Prize. But he's a horse paste eater. So not only does this dude believe in homeopathy, he eats horse paste. Fantastic. Fantastic. And all because he consulted his doctor, the host from Fear Factor. Stunning and brave.
The problem with this is it is so political, and health should not be political. It shouldn't be that, Trump endorsed ivermectin and HCQ, and so take that shit off, it doesn't work.
That is not why people are opposed to hydroxychloroquine or ivermectin. They aren't. Look, it has nothing to do with Trump. It's that they don't fucking work. They don't work. And if you need examples of why they don't work, I've done 2 videos on how they don't work. Link in the description. Exhaustive research into this shit. Like, just recently, there was another study that came out that ivermectin totally works, and then it's found out that it was complete fraudulent. Again, that's like the 3rd or 4th one. If it's such a great drug, why do people have to lie? Why?
In general, I think we all should have been a little hesitant. When Trump in 2020 was championing these vaccines that were coming so quick, what did the left say? And I'm talking about every member of the left. Don't trust the vaccine. Don't get the vaccine. You're going to die from the vaccine.
Okay, but all the people on the right were saying, yeah, we're going to take the vaccine. We're going to take the vaccine. We're going to take the vaccine. Like, if you're going to make this argument, be consistent. Be consistent. Be consistent.
And then what happened? Biden wins and everything flips. shouldn't that initially give you a little bit of pause and go, hold on a second? Isn't this shit about health?
Yeah, if it is about health, then why not? Why not? Why aren't the people who are on the right who are like, yes, this vaccine is good? It's the same vaccines. It's the same exact vaccines. It's as simple as that. And me being pretty much on the left, I never said I wasn't going to take the fucking vaccine. I never said it. I had some worries that maybe it might have been pushed through too quickly, but then I researched into it and I was like, oh, okay, no, it hasn't. And then I got vaccinated and I'm doing great. But can you be consistent in this? Do I have to spell out why that's a problem? Okay, fine. I will spell out why it's a problem. If you are looking at this from a political level, and you have Trump comes out and says, we're going to have these vaccines, Operation Warp Speed, and all the people on the right are like, yay, we're going to get vaccinated. And people on the left are like, ooh, we've got concerns. Okay, well, the people on the left might have valid concerns about it being rushed unless, people come out and say, hey, actually, it's totally fine. Keep in mind, Fauci was working for both Trump and then Biden. But suddenly Fauci's like a devil now compared to when you ask the conspiracy world. And then Biden gets in and suddenly now it's a poisonous vaccine. And people who are hardcore MAGA are like, I'm not going to take that vaccine. It's the same vaccine. It's the same fucking thing. There's no difference. And you're not going to be owning Joe Biden by not taking the vaccine. You're going to be yeeting your grandmother off the fucking mortal plane.
Has any member of the health staff this entire time got up and actually talked about real health? Have they talked about exercise, a healthy diet, like eating real food, drinking water, taking vitamins, vitamin D deficiency, and what that causes in the body?
You are one of the most monitored medically people on the planet being an NFL player. You are in peak physical fucking condition and you got COVID. What is your fucking point?
Add this to the mix as an aside, but the great MLK said that you have a moral obligation to object to unjust rules and rules that make no sense.
That's always a very, very good move. When a massively wealthy, big bitch crybaby NFL player has to cite MLK for why he doesn't want to take a safe and effective vaccine and instead chooses to drink, homeopathy and horse paste. Okay. No. All right. Yeah. Why has this been happening so much lately? Have you guys noticed this? Have you guys noticed how many people are just like, yeah, I'm giving this interview about my freedoms and mandates, and so I'm going to quote Martin Luther King. Oh boy. But look, I'm going to be honest. If somebody wants to try and cherry pick MLK quotes to say that this is all about freedom and maybe I don't need to get vaccinated, I would like to point you to two quotes by Dr. Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. We must learn to live together as brothers or perish together as fools. Could put that one towards we all need to collectively come together in times of a crisis to do what's right to try and save each other or we die as fools. But how about another one? How about one more? Life's most persistent and urgent question is, Dr. King said in Montgomery, Alabama in 1957, what are you doing for others? And the very basic question there is, in what way can you look at your actions and realize that they are either for selfish purposes, like my freedoms, or are you willing to take the steps to help others, people who might be at more risk than you? Or, if in the case that your allergy is actually a real thing, you would be the one that's at risk and you would want others to do the same. In which case you'd want people to get vaccinated more to help protect you. But it's not about that. It is entirely about your discomfort. That's what it is. And so you have to drag the skeleton of MLK out and shake it around to try and make a point. Well, I can do the same right back to you, okay? I don't feel good about it, neither should you. Now, there's a little bit more, but already this video is going to be extremely long. Extremely. And all of the details about what I've been talking about, again, are in the description down below. I'm not just speaking speaking my truth versus Aaron Rodgers' truth. He provides no citations. I do. He claims he has science, but he also believes in magic homeopathy water. And apparently protocols that he can't list in 500 pages of research that we don't see. And I'd love to see it. Love to see it. Holy shit, if he publishes that research, I'll do a whole video just completely going through it. 100%. I would love to do that. But here's something that I really have to hammer home. Over and over, Aaron Rodgers says there's only two main reasons that he cites about why he didn't want to get the vaccine. One, that he has an allergy, which I doubt. Maybe, but I doubt. And then he's afraid of the Pfizer one, even though the Pfizer one was proven still incredibly safe. Doesn't matter. And that he's worried about fertility, which he now has a natural contracting of COVID, which can more greatly impact your fertility, whereas there's no proof that any vaccine has done so at all. But he spends an inordinate amount of time talking about how hard it is, how tough it is, because he has to get tested every day, and he has to wear a mask, and he has to isolate, and he has to do this, he has to do that. I'm just going to point something out here, okay? Aaron Rodgers signed a 4-year, $134 million contract. $134 million over 4 years. And he is complaining because he might have to do some extra things that make him uncomfortable. Aaron Rodgers is a baby. He's a big, whiny baby with poop in his pants. He has the brain of a baby. He is consulting medical professionals like Dr. Fear Factor Joe fucking Rogan, so he gobbles down his fucking horse paste. Aaron Rodgers is an idiot. And what's really tragic about this situation is that there are going to be a lot of people out there in the world who are going to hear what Aaron Rodgers has to say, and they're going to feel justified by their own beliefs about this situation. They will feel reinforced. It's going to be a big problem. I said a while back when the pandemic first started and people were like, man, I can't wait until this is going to be over. And I answered as honestly as I could. What if it's never over? What if it never ends? What if in some way, shape, or form we are always dealing with this? And the reason why we're always going to be dealing with this is because we're always going to be dealing with people who are not helping us get over it. COVID-19 is not unconquerable. But human stupidity might be. Anyway, that's going to be it for me today, guys. Thank you so much for your time and attention. Again, a lot of these videos get demonetized because I am talking about, COVID-19, vaccines, and all these other treatments and whatnot. So if you'd like to support the channel, you can always check out my Patreon. I hope you are well. I hope your family is well. And from mine to yours, take care of yourselves. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.